Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of A-Tai Teaches Piano. Today we will be going over chords and harmonizations. So we talked a little bit about chords in the very first theory video, but I wanted to do a video designated for chords because I think we can get very complex and there's a lot of stuff to talk about them. So today we're going to be talking about how to create major chords, minor chords. We're even going to address some seventh chords, and then after that we'll learn how it could be applicable to maybe some of the pieces you're learning, or how to read lead sheets and all that kind of good stuff there. So first, let's start off with the basic ones where we have the major chord. So we're going to talk about how to construct it on the piano, and we're also going to talk about how we see it on paper. So first, a major chord, you might know from our C major chord, is major chords are used a lot in all of our pieces, and it's based off a major scale and whatever key you're in. So how to make a major chord? So first, there are two ways. One way is that we can think about the interval relationship. So if we start on C, we're trying to build a C major chord. To get to the second note of the chord, we would go up 4 half steps. So from C, we count 1, 2, 3, 4. That gets us our third or our middle notes in the chord. And then we're going to count up 3 half steps to get us the fifth or the top of the chord. 1, 2, 3. So we can remember this kind of 4. I'll just put it maybe right here. 4 plus 3. Combination of half steps. Alright, so one more time. So from C, to make a C major chord, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. And then 3 half steps above the E. 1, 2, 3. That gets us our C major chord. If we want to take another major chord, let's try G major chord. Okay, so if we go to G, we're going to count up 4 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3 to get us the D. So we have G, B, D to get us our G major chord. This also works for flats or sharps or anything like that. So for example, if we take an E flat chord, E flat major chord, we're starting on E flat, going up 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps, and then 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3, to get us our E flat major chord. So that's one way to figure out our major chords. Another way is knowing all of your scales. So if you see below, and we covered it in the theory lesson, we talked about the circle of fifths and how each key has its own key signature. So if we think about C major, a key that has no sharps, no flats, and how to build a chord off a scale is that we take the first note, the third note, and the fifth note of the scale. So if we go C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we get 1, 3, 5 for our major chord. So C major scale, C major chord is based off 1, 3, 5. This is where it's important to know your key signatures, right? So for example, if we go to another chord, maybe let's say F sharp major, right? So F sharp major has 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 sharps, right? Okay, and so if we think about F sharp major, right, we go 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5. This helps us to get our F sharp major chord. So we can think of, so 4 plus 3, and if you know your key signatures, it's scale degree number 1, scale degree number 3, and scale degree number 5 to help us get our major chords. And why this is important? Because another aspect of chords that we need to know that we didn't cover in the first version of this theory lesson is inversions. So what is an inversion? An inversion is where we have the same chord, same notes of a chord, where let's go back to C major. So let's write it out here. So this is our normal C major chord, right? C, E, G. Great. So now we have something called inversion. So this is a 1 chord, a C major chord in the key of C. So we're in the key of C here. It's the 1 chord because it's the first noted scale. So what an inversion is that we use the same 3 notes, but we flip the order that they come in. So for example, a first inversion would mean that our C, the bottom note right now, gets tossed over, gets inverted to the top. which then leaves us with E, G, and C. So this is E, G, and C. So that's what we call our first inversion. And we identify, if we're going for like these Roman numerals and the very proper notation, we go by this first inversion. You can say, you can write first inversion, or you can write 6. So it's a 1-6 chord. So 1 meaning C major chord in the key of C, and the 6 indicates an inversion from the E to the C is an interval of a 6. And so that's where that 6 there comes from. So we have a C major chord in root position. Root position is its most basic form. We have the first inversion where we're throwing the C on top. So then we have E, G, C. And then if we do a second inversion, we're going to throw the E on top, inverting the chord one more time. So we have G, C, and E. So then to write it out, we have G, C, and E. And this type of chord we call a 1 second inversion or a 1-6-4 chord. So why do we call it 1-6-4? Well, the G to C is an interval of a fourth, and the G to E is an interval of a 6. And so that's where we get the 6-4. Hey, what's up? It's Chub Chub. Thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it. We are currently just got started with our piano lesson, so thank you for stopping by. If you guys would like to learn something about chords today, you guys came at the right time. Great. So we learned about our major chord, starting with the intervals are the notes of 1, 3, 5 in the scale. We also figured out that we can figure out a major chord through half steps. So starting on C, 1, 2, 3, 4 gets us the middle note. 1, 2, 3 gets us the top note or the fifth, and that creates our major chord. Then we just talked about inversions, where we have our C in root position, its most basic form. The first inversion, where we throw the C on top. So we have E, G, C, still all having notes from the C chord. And then we're going to talk about our second inversion, where E goes to the top. So now our order is G, C, and E. So this is our second inversion. And later in the lesson, we'll get into why these inversions can be applicable. Here, you can hear already that they give kind of different sounds. So although it's the same chord, the same notes, the different orders create a different quality of sound. And so this is how we figure out any major. So let's do another example. Let's go over here. And let's just do one in, oops. Sorry, very ugly treble clef. Let's do one more example where that's our C major. Let's do another one, maybe, let's go down here. And we'll do it in D major. So we'll do one with the top, right? So we have F sharp and C sharp. And to figure out our major chord, we have scale degree number 1, scale degree number 3, and scale degree number 5 in our key. D, F sharp, A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Major chord. So that's in the key of D, our 1 chord. Then we talk about, and if we invert it, we're going to go invert it to the, so this means that we're going to throw the D on top. So the D goes on top, giving us a chord of F sharp, A, and D. And that's our 1-6 chord, or our first inversion chord. And then if we flip this one more time, where the F gets thrown on top, then we have A, D, F, giving us our D second inversion chord, or our 1-6-4 chord in the key of D major. So root position, first inversion 1-6. The 6 comes from F sharp to D. It's an interval of a 6. And the second inversion, 1-6-4, gives us where the 6-4 comes from is the A to D is a fourth, and the A to F sharp is a sixth. And once again, we'll explain where these inversions come from in a little bit, or how these inversions can be applicable later. Great, so going back to the key of C major, so that's our basic major chords here. Let's figure out how to construct minor chords. And so minor chords are very simple. One super simple way that you can think about it is if you remember all your major chords, C major chords, all we are doing with the minor chord is that we are dropping the middle note down a half step. So instead of C, E, G, we're going to have C, E flat, G. So here we would throw a flat over here. And so if you don't remember your major chords that way, for the minor, this is for the minor, the combination of half steps is 3 plus 4. So instead of 4 plus 3, it's reversed, where we have 3 plus 4. So if we try and figure out with the C minor chord, so over here this would be a 1 chord, a minor 1 chord. We would have C, then 1, 2, 3 to find us the middle note, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would give us the top note. So then we have C minor chord. Same thing with if we go back to the D major chord, right? If we go back to a D minor chord where we erase the flats and sharps, we have the same exact thing where we have D, instead of F sharp A, we lower the middle note by a half step, giving us our minor chord, D, F natural A, giving us our minor chord. And it's very easy here when it comes to inversions. The inversions on minor chords and major chords are the same. So if we were to invert this, we would throw the D on top, and this would still be a minor 1/6 chord. And if we throw the F on top, this would still be a minor 1/6/4 chord, or a minor chord in second inversion. So the inversions never change, so that's something good to know. Okay, so that's major and minor chords. The last chords that we're going to talk about today are the seventh chords. And so these can get slightly more confusing, but we're going to try to explain it in a very clear way. So let's go back to our C chord. We have a C, E, G. And so for seventh chords, we have 3 different types of seventh chords. Okay, great. Give me 1 second. Have to deal with stuff in the Twitch chat. Great. What's up, everybody? Thank you guys so much for joining. I really do appreciate it. All right, so for seventh chords, we have 3 different types of seventh chords. So first, we have a major seventh chord. So this is what we call major 7 chord. And what a 7 chord in general is that means we add the 7th note above our chord. So if we're trying to create a C major 7 chord, what we're looking for is a major 7th above C. And how you can find that is knowing your scale. So if you go to your scale and you go up 7 notes, C, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you get your major 7th. And then and if you throw that major 7th on top of your C chord, you get your major 7 chord. Very simple like that. So now we have a different type of 7th chord, so that's your major 7. We have a different type of major chord. We call it a C7 chord, or a C dominant 7, so dominant. Sorry, I don't have a trackpad. I'm drawing this with my mouse. C dominant 7 chord, right? So they can be called either. So if it's just called C7, C dominant, same exact thing. And so what this is that instead of a major 7 on top, you're going to have a minor 7, which means you're going to lower the B down a half step to B flat. And so you'll have C, E, G, B flat. And this gives us our dominant 7. The third name for it is you can call it C major minor 7 chord. Excuse me, and we call it a major minor chord because we have a major chord with a minor 7. So this one has three different names. You have C7, C dominant 7, or C major minor 7, all mean the same thing, where you lower your 7th note down a half step. So you get a minor 7th on top of your root note. Okay, and then so that would look like C, E, G, B, flat. Okay, and then the last one that we have is a C minor 7 chord. This one I think is a little bit easier to remember, where we have C minor, so that means we have C, E flat, G. So you already have a minor chord, and then all it is just throwing a minor 7th on top, something we already studied over here in the dominant chord. So we'll have a minor 7, so B flat, so C, E flat, G, B flat. And there's our C minor 7 chord. C, E flat, oops, G, and B flat. So you have double minor here. Minor chord, minor 7. And those are your three types of chords. So we have major C major 7, our normal 7th above in the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then our dominant 7, our major minor 7, our C7 chord, where we have a flat 7th. And then our last 7th chord, a minor 7 chord, where we have a minor chord with a minor 7 right on top. So let's do this for one more key. Let's do a different key. Let's try doing, let's try a harder key. Not that any key is really necessarily hard. Yeah, let's go with E flat, just like we did earlier. So E flat, if you remember the key signature, we have B flat, E flat, A flat. And then so we have E, G, B. So E flat, G flat, B flat is what we have as our chord. So if we go on our scale, let's find the 7th note of our E flat scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So to get a E flat major 7 chord, major 7, we throw a D on top. There we go. And so if we think about our E flat dominant 7 chord, I'll just write Dom 7 here. Remember that our 7th, instead of being a major 7th, we lower it to a minor 7th. So we'll go E flat to D flat, and then our normal E flat chord. So minor 7. Okay, so that's E flat, G, B flat, D flat. And to get our E flat minor 7 chord, we do double minor. So that means your E flat chord is going to be minor, which means we're going to lower the G to a G flat. Sorry, you guys can't see this. And then we keep the minor 7th on top. So we have E flat, G flat, B flat, D flat to get us our minor 7 chord. Okay, great. Let me just double check all this. All right, good. We're great. Okay, we got this all here. Okay, boom, boom, boom. So G flat, since it's not in the key signature, and D flat, since it's not in the key signature. Okay, and so now we have to talk about how all of this applies to our music, right? Why do we need these chords? Why do we need all these inversions? And so here, this is where we call knowing these chords, knowing these inversions can help you with what we call harmonization, or when you're going to create a melody or an accompaniment to your melody in your right hand, right? Or I guess it doesn't have to be the right hand, but it's creating an accompaniment to your melody. So here today, you guys might know this as like lead sheets or whatnot. So let me switch the scene really quickly. So I'm gonna close this. Let me switch the scene to this one. 1 second, everybody. How do I hide this? Oh, I see. Okay, and then let's open this. So we're here. Okay, great. So we have a piece here. Let's take a look at this. So we have a piece. This is Can't Help Falling in Love. And so this is what we call a lead sheet. So if you're into jazz, even if you're not into jazz, a lot of pop music are based off lead sheets, and you might see these pretty often. Sometimes you can have these type of sheet music. Let's, for example, let's choose 1,000 Years. So 1,000 Years is another version where you might see something like this, where you're gonna have the melody written in with the words, and then you're gonna kind of have these chords on top and a kind of an accompaniment figure. So we're gonna look at a lead sheet first and see how this knowledge of chords can help us apply and play these pieces. Let's see, can you see that here? Okay, great. So here we have a lead sheet is where you just have, oh wait, sorry, I can't write in this. Give me 1 second, guys. Great. A lead sheet is where you have a melody written out, and you have no left-hand play written out, but it is going to just be written out as chords. So if we were to play this straight, we lost the visual keyboard. Yeah, there's a lot of tabs going on here. Okay, so if we try and play this, right, we have C, G, C. So let's just look at that first. So if we have C, G, C, what these chords are telling us is that with the C, we're going to play a C chord. With this G, we're going to play an E minor chord. And with this A, or with this C, we're going to play an A minor chord. So you have a C chord, so this will generally be in your left hand. C chord. Let's find our E minor chord. So we have, if you don't know your E minor, we have E, let's use the minor. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have E, G, B, E minor, and then let's go to A minor. Let's jump down here. So we have A, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Our A minor chord. So if we put that together, we have C, E, and then A minor. So already there, sounds pretty good, right? If you're trying to learn the song and you wanted to accompany yourself, this already sounds nice, right? You can sing to this, you can play this. E minor, A minor. Okay, if we go a little bit on into the first line, we have Only Fools, which is F. Then E in Rush, we go to the C chord. And then with G, we go to over here. So that's the end of the second line here. Great. Okay, and so this is already what we call harmonization, where we are harmonizing the melody with our left-hand chords. And so another way that we can take this, as you can see, this is where our inversions will come into play. So here you see me in the right hand, right? Or I'm sorry, the left hand. See, you see me jumping up to E chord and then having to jump down into this A chord. But what if we use some inversions so that I didn't have to travel as far? So take a look. If I use the C chord, what 3 letters are in the E minor chord? I'll play on the right hand. We have E, G, B. If you take a look at my left hand has all of these notes except for the B. But where's there a B next to my left hand? Well, it's right below my pinky, which would be right below the C, where we have the B right here. So instead of playing here, going all the way up to here, instead I can play the C chord, move my pinky down to B, and this is still an E minor chord, just with an inversion. Still sounds like E minor, gives it a kind of different color, but that's still the chord. Right, and let's do one more. So what if we try and find the A chord, right? So the A chord, we can hop down here. This is not too far. Or we can hop up, where we can keep this E here, because what's in the A chord? A minor chord, A, C, E. So let's move our B back to C, and let's move our G back to A. So we have another inverted chord, but it's still an A minor chord. So if we put these together, we have now so it sounds a little bit different, but it still has the chord, it's still harmonized, and we made it so much easier for our left hand where we didn't have to jump all the way around. So let's write that out really quickly. So we have C, E, G in root position. Here, this E minor chord, we put the B on the bottom. So let's put, sorry, I guess I flipped it. We'll write it bottom up, okay? So we'll go C, E, G, so we can visualize it. Then we're gonna put B, E, G. So what is this? This is a, if we invert it once, we're gonna have G, B, E. If we invert it a second time, we have B, E, G. So this is like our 6/4 chord. And then we have A minor, where we went C, E, A. So if we invert this, if we go to our A minor chord, we invert it once with the A on top, we have like a A6 chord. 6, 4. And this should make it a little bit easier to play a lot of our passages. So one more time, second inversion, first inversion. So if we put that with the melody, okay, and let's go to fools, only fools. So if I want to keep my C chord in the root position, let's go C, E, G. Where can I use inversions to get me an F chord? Well, if we know what's in the F chord, F, A, C, excuse me, we can move our E up to F and our G up to A, so we don't have to go anywhere. So let's put C, F, A. Then we're going back to C, and instead of hopping to a G chord, let's just move my 2 notes down, going down to D, and C going down to B, so that we have a B, D, G chord, which is still a G chord. So let's go only fools, C, F, A, root position E, C chord, and then our G chord right there. So if we play this whole first line with these without the inversions, so let's try playing without the inversions and let's see how much my left hand jumps. Or we can try it with the inversions. And there you have it. So that just shows one advantage of knowing your chords and knowing your inversions, right? It's not the biggest deal if we just play block chords in this type of slow piece. It doesn't really matter, right? Like you're for sure gonna be able to play it. Right? It's not like you're gonna run out of time. But I think also with the inversions, it sounds a little bit smoother, right? It sounds like it's a little bit more connected. It's like there's like a melody or like a line that you can follow with the left hand playing in inversions, right? Because they're all closer together, they're all a little bit more connected. Over here, this A minor to the F chord works really nicely because we're just moving our F up to E up to F. Only fools, moving down, rather than, right? That just seems like random block chords. So we have kind of our own hidden melody here. This is what we call kind of like voice leading. Right, we're moving our voices in the left hand to kind of follow each other. And then if we do it one more time, I can't help moving that E up to F for this falling in love. Then G, just moving these bottom 2 notes too. And then we're back to C right there. So that's one way that it's applicable, these inversions and these chords, learning how to read these chords to kind of help us to play a lead sheet, right? And so one more thing about harmonization is we call this block chords, right? So this is blocking a chord. So there are other, so now that you know your chord, you're familiar with what notes you're in the chord, I would always practice a block chord first. And then after this, you can experiment with different rhythmic patterns in your left hand to create some variation, right? And so what would this sound like, right? This can sound like, so for example, what if I wanted to make quarter notes, right? So this is in 12/8, or yeah, so what if I wanted to go C, E, G, so quarter notes, and then A. Okay, so what I did was I just broke down the chord. Thank you for the follow. So instead of playing a block chord, I broke it up into kind of like an arpeggio, a broken chord we call it. And then E minor, we played B, E, G, so I'm gonna go B, E, G, and then A minor, we're gonna go A, C, E, A. And so this is using the same chord, but we're harmonizing it in a different way. So if I play this with a melody, only fools rush in. Do you see that right there? Right? So that's another way that you can harmonize it, right? You can do, you can use the inversions instead of blocking chords to create a little bit of some movement. Now honestly, I don't really like this this broken chords when it's in inversions, right? So here, maybe if you would like, maybe you can try and do it in root position, and let's see how that is, right? The important part is that you know your chord, you know which chord lines up with which part of the melody, and then you can harmonize it in any way you want. I guess maybe some people will tell you there's a right way and wrong way. I think that's wrong. I think really whatever sounds good to you and whatever you kind of like, whatever floats your boat, right? So I'm gonna do this broken chord idea in root position. So let's try that. Yeah, so I think to me that sounds maybe a little bit better. I'm not too sure I like the broken chord inversions, but that's completely up to you and your personal preference, right? And so if you see these people like that do crazy arrangements on YouTube or on Twitch or whatever, right? A lot of people, what they do is that they read these chords, they harmonize it in their own way, right? So this is our C chord, and there are a million C, E, Gs on the piano, right? You can do C, 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 or C, G, C, C, E, G, C, right? You can go, you can even play some notes on your right hand, right? And so this is where the complexity of harmonization can come into play, right? So if we try and go all out here, right? So if we have C, let's just try the C chord, right? So I'm going to use any notes in the C chord. Right, so what did I do there? I did a broken chord with the octave. Only fools. F chord, broken chord. Oh, I inverted the C chord over here to E, G, C, E. And then let's go do a G chord. So now maybe I want on falling here, because my right hand's moving in 8th quarter notes. Maybe I want to hold a chord with my left hand. Falling in love. You. And then that's another way you can harmonize it, right? So that's using all your chords, using your left hand to create your harmony, right? Using the chord that we just studied, right? So make sure you learn how to make your major, minor chords. This piece doesn't have any 7 chords. I can maybe try and find a piece that has a 7 chord so we can see how that plays out. And then the last thing that I would like you to try out to test, right? So all of this is experimentation, right? As the more you get used to these chords, the more pieces you mess around with, the more comfortable you will be with doing this. So yeah, see, someone in chat says this is such a cool idea. Thank you. Sounds smoother with inversions. Yep, and broken sound sounds different but nice. Yeah, see, like in this piece, honestly, in this piece, I would probably do more chords, right? Just because this piece is a little bit calmer, and I think it sounds better with chords. But we're just kind of using this as an idea. So the last thing that I would like you to experiment with harmonization is you can also harmonize your right hand. Right? There is no saying that what is written here on the right hand is what you have to play. So for example, we have C, G, C. So what if instead of just playing C, G, C, we use the chord, and let's say I want to throw octaves on the C, and let's say I want to throw an E here. So first I'm going to do octaves, and then now let's throw some notes inside. So with the Y's for the C chord, let's go C, E, C. Then for the men, we're going to go up to G, and let's throw E in there. So this is using parts of the E minor chord to harmonize your right hand. And then if we go to the A minor chord, let's throw an A in here. So we have C, A, C, we're just missing the E. I guess we can even throw the E. So here we have wise men say. Okay, and if we put that with the left hand, so here in the left hand, I left the chords up to the right hand, and I just played octaves on the left hand. So here I'm harmonizing the melody, but with my right hand instead. So choosing a chord. So let's say I'm gonna do a full F chord with my right hand. Then I'm gonna go down to E, G, C, which is still a C chord. And then I'm gonna go D, G, B, D. Falling right here, only fools rush in, and now I harmonized using my right hand instead of my left hand. And then if you put it all together, you can harmonize all together, both hands. Right? And so that's like a complex harmonization with both hands there. So what I did was I used a big chord with the right hand, and then since we have a dotted half note here, this is like 3 counts, or I guess 6 eighth notes, right? If we're in 12/8, right? So as long as I go here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So I can fill in the sound with whatever I want as long as I switch on time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I guess this one, I just held this on a little bit longer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, so I don't know. So some people might think that's a little too extra for a song like this, Can't Help Falling in Love. But I think that's just a great demonstration of seeing how far you can play with harmonization, right? So if you're new to this kind of stuff, I would recommend that you learn all your chords, major and minor. We talked about that in the beginning of the video, how to create that. And then I would invite you to experiment using block chords first, then experimenting with inversions so that you can get used to what notes are in your chord, not just in the root position. Once you're comfortable with these block chords in different inversions, see, I'm doing a different inversion here. I just did a different left hand inversion there because I know what chords are inside, or what notes are inside my chords. And then once you're really comfortable with that, I would practice trying to use a different pattern in your left hand, whether it's broken chord, or you can even do 1, 2. Right, so this kind of makes it like more like a waltz dance, right? That's a waltz figure. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Right, right? So that one's kind of funny, right? And so I would practice different accompaniment patterns with your left hand, different harmonizations, and then when you get really comfortable with that, I would explore. I would invite you to explore harmonizing with your right hand as well, right? You can do block chords again with the right hand. And then once you're really comfortable with that, as long as you stay within the rhythm of the piece, you can add any fillers that you want. And that's our little guide to chords and harmonizations. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I also have a Discord that I will leave in the description below on the YouTube video. This video is being broadcasted live on Twitch, so if you guys are on Twitch, feel free to click that link in the description below that you can follow our Twitch and catch these lessons live. I would really love to answer all of you guys' questions. This piece didn't have any 7 chords, so yeah, if you run into pieces that have 7 chords, we can talk about that, and I can answer any of your questions there in the Discord, on the live stream, also in the YouTube comments below. So I hope this really helped you. This is really fun if you want to try and make like your own arrangements for songs, right? So this is what we call a lead sheet, where we have the melody written out, and then just the left hand is written out as chords, and so you can really go all up. It's really all up to you, right? And whatever your imagination takes you. So thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any feedback for me or have any ideas for topics for videos, please let me know in the comments in the Discord or on Twitch, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you very much.